Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comic-Con at Home. This is the Afrofuturism Black to the Future 3D panel. And I want to welcome all of our esteemed guests. First of all, I don't know how these are going to appeal to you. I'm in the center here, but Tim Russ, my fellow Star Trek Voyager alum, who's also starred in, well, I had the whole list written down, but it's too dark here in space. I can't read it, okay? Below him is Rico Anderson, who actually worked on some of Tim's projects, Fifth Passenger and Star Trek Renegades, okay? Tim has done a lot more work than just Star Trek, though, you guys should all know, and he's a very accomplished director on top of it. Okay, on my screen next to him is Dennis Cowan, one of the founders of Milestone Media. And you may also recognize him from the credits of things like Static Shock and the Boondocks and a lot of other animated projects. He is an expert in the field of animation, okay? I don't know where he is on your screen, but then we have Professor Ajani Brown from San Diego State University. He's our representative from academia. And when we start to go too far afield, you know, like most professors, they say, hey, put down that phone and focus, okay? All right, we also have Erika Alexander. Erika, you may remember her, of course, from Living Single, which my mom back in Detroit watches every single day. You can't believe how excited my mom got when she found out that Erika Alexander was going to be on this panel, okay? Weird story here. I told my mom, you know, Eric said she was going to call my mom, you know, and unfortunately I let that slip a little bit, and my mom went ballistic on me. She goes, oh, no, you don't. No, you don't have Erika Alexander call me. If you don't, I won't know what to say. I'll be all numbnuts. I said, Mom, that's not what that means. You mean tongue-tied. You mean tongue. Please don't get on the phone with Erika Alexander and say that you got numbnuts, okay? True story, true story. But anyway, Erika's going to help me sabotage my mom later. Okay.
We will do that.
And Kevin Grevioux, everybody's favorite werewolf, who's also the originator of I, Frankenstein and Underworld. And he's been in a lot of projects, iconic projects like Charlie's Angels and the Michael Jackson video. Do you remember The Way We Were? Now, when you go to that video, about 3 minutes into it, you'll see a very buff, handsome brother holding a spear about to chuck it through Michael Jackson. That's Kev, okay? That's Kev. A lot of people may not recognize that, but go check it out.
I thought that was you, Kevin. I thought that was you.
That was him, man.
I never said anything before, but I thought that was you.
No, I swear to God, I've known Kevin for years, and one day, you know, I just like the whole Black Egypt thing, as you guys will learn later. But so I'm watching this, and I had to stop and go, what the heck? Kev?
I did her many moons ago.
All right. Well, folks, this is our esteemed panel, and our topic, because of all the hell that's been going on lately, I think it's very appropriate that the main topic of this panel, though we can diverge from it later, is going to be Black Productions Matter. Getting Hollywood to stand up and take notice, or just to listen, okay? How many of you got to see this incredible speech that was given by Michael B. Jordan at the Hollywood protests? You did?
Yes.
Personally, I thought it was right on point.
Yeah, I think.
And I think one of the things that we as developers of content can do is to get out there and take advantage of this moment in history to tell our story. I think it's time for Hollywood to listen to us. I mean, they're doing a lot of FaceTime, and they're doing a lot of talking. But it's time that we make Hollywood start doing some of that walking. Okay?
Time to start financing.
It's time to start financing. That's it. So, Professor, did you know, you said you saw the...
You know, I caught it on Instagram, actually. I caught a piece of it on Instagram. All his points were right. I mean, they were right on point, everything he was saying. But again, it starts with financing production. That's where it begins and ends. You know, we can write all the greatest scripts and everything, but if no one wants to finance those productions, then they're just going to sit on the shelf. So it's really about where Hollywood wants to put their money, and that is always a political decision anyway.
Okay. And Erika, you saw it as well, coming from the direction of a producer of content. How do you think you're going to be able to maneuver these waters? They're pretty deep.
Yes, they are. And Michael B. Jordan is doing very well in the financing end because he's hot and he's got a, really well-defined career and a track record. But for a lot of people out there talking about inclusion and diversity, it's a lot of lip service. And often those dollars seem to go to the same people. And I think that they need to spread the net, not just a little bit wide, but very wide. There's a lot of people who are underfunded, who are veterans. There are a lot of people underfunded who are newcomers. The point is that the limitation of those voices is a detriment to the culture. And more importantly, if you look at the amount of product that Black people have contributed to American culture and the world's culture, we should be the most funded group in the world. And it's not true. So Ajani is totally right.
Yeah, I think it's common knowledge that even with our very limited participation, for instance, less than 3% of the WGA, which I'm a member, less than 3% are writers of color. And yet besides that, the revenue generated by performers of colors, producers of color, and writers of color is in the billions and billions of dollars, out of all proportion to our direct participation in this. Now, I think that Dennis, coming from the founding of Milestone Media, I know you've had to surmount hurdles and none of us can probably even begin to dream of. What do you think we can do, Dennis, to get Hollywood to take notice of us and send some more funding this way?
It's an interesting question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I don't know the magic answer to that, but I was thinking about something earlier because I saw an announcement earlier and it made me think, well, gee, how? So Netflix just announced, for example, that they're putting up $5 million. $5 million towards Black-owned business, Black creatives, Black entrepreneurs, like Black everything. So Netflix is investing in Black people. And I thought, that's awesome. That's great. That's $5 million. That's not a lot of money, but it's a start. But then my next thought was, and how do Black people access that money? Because there's there's plenty of corporations, from Lowe's, from Lowe's, the hardware place, to Netflix, the entertainment giant that is committed to, we're giving money to the Black community and Black creatives and Black people. But how do you access that? How do you get that? As Erika knows, and all you guys know, Kevin knows, you need an agent. You need a lawyer. You need an agent. You need you need representation to even get into a conversation about maybe funding something. So how do people get access to these mythical funds? And I wonder, if these people are announcing, if Netflix and these kind of people are announcing these things, are they announcing ways to access? Are they just announcing money totals? Are they saying, okay, along with this money, go to this website and we're going to show you how to go get this money? Without that, then you just have a lot of announcements about the good they're doing, but no practical ways of getting that. If Erika has a project, she may have more success in maybe accessing that than other people, but what about the person who isn't in her position, who has that great idea and they're investing all this money? So sorry about my voice. It's finally changing. So I'm happy about that. But that was my, yeah, I know. That's my biggest thing. Is I'm not seeing how it's all connecting yet. I'm seeing a lot of commitment, a lot of passion from people, but I don't see how it all connects.
I think a lot of it goes back to the fact that, you know, we're hearing a lot of lip service, which is great to hear, but what you were saying, Dennis, what is the breakdown of that? You're saying we're committed to Black Lives Matter, or we're committed to Black, just focusing on all things Black. That's great, but what are the actual bullet points that you?
What does that mean?
That word,
what does that really mean?
Yeah, what does it mean? What is the actual? We hear this all the time. We hear you. We want more works by Black artists and this and that. But how are you really?
What does that mean?
To that?
We'll know something. I think, you know, when someone like Kevin or Erika or yourself, when they go, oh yeah, I had this great idea. Netflix, you know, I had this great idea. People from Netflix reached out to me. I don't know how they even got my number. And they said, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, I got a check from Netflix to do my project. Then you'll know there's a communication that something's working. But until then, we're like, we're all in the same place we were before all of this, you know? Except people are saying nice things.
I actually had an executive from, oh, wait a minute. Kevin, you're saying something. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Kevin.
No. I was just going to say, I think a lot of that happens because, quite simply, Hollywood and the comic book industry, too, they are extremely risk adverse.
Yes.
I mean, they're afraid to try anything new with their own people, let alone us. You know what I'm saying? So we represent another culture. They're like, well, how are we going to make this work? What are you talking about? It's a love story. What do you mean? How are you going to make it work? Make it work like everything else you do. But they look at us as fundamentally different. When, look, we're all human. We're all the same. We all have feelings. Just tell the story. Give us money to tell our stories. If you build it, people will come. And, you know, there are some things that I've heard from, like, let's say some white friends of mine, that I found kind of disturbing, even though I guess I understood what they were trying to say. I'm like, you know, I don't look at it that way. So, friend of mine, good friend of mine, he's very nice. She was an AD on one of the Star Trek TV shows. She told me that she does not go and see Black productions. And the reason why is because she doesn't feel that they're for her. Therefore, she stays away. And I'm like, well, I don't feel that way. I don't look at mainstream productions as white productions. They're just productions, even though white folks are in the forefront. So what? I just want to hear a good story. And so I don't know why it's so difficult for them to do, some of them to do the same, you know, and it shouldn't be like that.
Well, it's culture, you know. We've grown up, Black people have grown up having to assimilate and not having a whole lot of choice on what you watched.
Yeah.
Well, so if you're going to watch anything, you was watching what was on TV. And if it was the Brady Bunch, that was the family you saw. If it was Good Times, that was the family you saw, you know. We didn't have the luxury of going, well, I'm just not going to participate in watching any of this stuff because these people aren't really speaking to me, you know. Whereas white people and people not like us have had the comfort of choice and being able to go, well, you know, I don't think they really speak to my experience. But the other thing too is lack of, it's the same problem in reverse. If you grow up only seeing the Brady Bunch and all that kind of stuff, then something that doesn't look like that is foreign to you because you just didn't see it, you know, and what you saw was a caricature. So I think that you could be dealing with some of that with people, and the solution might be to put more stuff in front of them, you know, that they can experience. I don't know.
I think universality in storyline is probably going to be the key. Something that's extraordinarily well written is going to, I guess the real key is going to be quality. It's just got to be quality. I mean, we all know the statement that we have to be twice as good to get half as far. And I think there are, one thing that this panel shows is quality. One of the shows that all of America embraced, that somebody here had a part of, was The Cosby Show. I mean, that show showed a Black family with stories that were so well written that they had universal appeal. Okay.
There's a key word to that is crossover. We always have to worry about being the crossover story when no one else has to worry about being the crossover story market, right? And that's the challenge that we have that no one else has. Whenever someone is,
yeah, Tim can speak to this because, I mean, when you talk about crossover, I mean, come on, Star Trek had no problem. I mean, a lot of people may nitpick at Star Trek. I mean, trolls are just a matter of our life today. But you know what I loved about Star Trek, not just working on it, but it was the only show I ever saw where 3 or 4 Black people could be on the stage at the same time, and nobody, not only was it not a big deal, it wasn't a big deal that it wasn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we could show Tim up there, he'd be standing next to Worf or Geordi and all the rest of them, and they just walk in and then, you know, bail out and somebody else would come in. You saw 3 or 4 Black people, you know, within 5 minutes, and it just didn't dawn on you until it's like, wait a minute, did I just see 3 or 4 Black people just walk on the screen at the same time? You know? And I have to pat myself on the back a little bit here for 1 second. Tim, did you know that the story I wrote for you called Rise, the TV Guide called it the best story ever written for your character?
Wow. Thank you very much, Jimmy, for that contribution, because I actually liked that episode a lot. I just watched it.
Did you really?
Not long ago, yes. I was on a cruise ship and for a convention, and they played that episode. And I happened to be in the room at the time, and I did watch it, and I had forgotten because I hadn't seen it in, you know, obviously a couple of decades. But it was, and I really enjoyed it. I thought, what a great story. It's a murder mystery, and to tack on what we were talking about just a minute ago. Look, first of all, yes, the project has to be well written. It has to be a well done project, and being innovative or unique would also be a plus in that category. It doesn't matter, I think, it really doesn't matter whether it's a Black themed project or if it's a universal themed project. As soon as what happens is, as soon as they see you coming, you know, do they give you the same amount of attention? You know, is it a question of whether or not, oh, you don't have the credits, or you don't have the, you know, the this, that, and the other thing? I'm currently pitching a series project right now, which is contemporary, but does have science fiction elements based in it, and has a multi-ethnic cast, very diverse cast. And it has some historical elements in it as well. And I'm trying to pitch that as a series currently. The people who make the decisions, it's not just the content, it's the people who make the decisions as to whether they're going to pick up your show or, you know, put your show on their network. And now you need to have a showrunner attached. They won't even give you the time of day without a showrunner. And now you got to go out and find a showrunner, preferably one who's, you know, busy and one who's working. And most of them are already working on their own projects or on something that's on the air now. So it's very difficult to get someone to attach to it. They won't consider you without it. I might get lucky and get this thing through based on, you know, the showrunner that I just got interested in it if they come on board. But that's how it would happen. I don't know about, let's see, even Shonda Rhimes, who's very busy in terms of production, she still needs a network to carry her material. You have Tyler Perry, who's a giant. You have Oprah, who's a giant. Those are giants in the producing of the content and projects and getting those things off the ground. And they have done amazing jobs. But the networks, the major studios and networks, the people who greenlight those projects are not minorities. There's no minorities in those positions that greenlight TV shows and series and projects. Today, there's still not. So we don't have a voice in those very high levels of the studios and streaming networks that make the final decision about what goes on their network. That's where the ceiling is. That's where the glass ceiling is. I mean, even if you've got good content, even if you've got, you know, somebody, you know, a project that's really solid and it's well written, et cetera, and you can get in the door with an attorney or an agent, somebody has to green light that project. And you can't, you know, to start a network, you know, it's Apple TV spent $5 billion. Good luck with that. You have to have somebody who's going to get to green light the project. And those people are typically going to see people who look like them as a preference. That's just the way the world works. And it's very much an uphill climb. And I think we're at least on the hill, and we're starting to get, to climb, at least with now the moguls that we have in place, whether it's Shonda or Tyler Perry or whoever. We do have moguls now that are Black. So I think if they can crack those doors open a little more, people will be more amenable to picking up projects that are Black themed or projects produced by, executive produced and written by Blacks.
So we've got a basic chicken and the egg catch-22. You can't get a series unless you have a showrunner. You can't have a showrunner unless you have a great series.
No, you could be a mogul and still be blocked. Look at Byron Allen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that brother has been catching it. I mean, I'm so down for everything he's trying to do, but
He's a brilliant mogul. He's really, and
Can I say a few words about, though, the fact that I think as Black people, we're not really using our collective power? Because there's no doubt about it that you're totally right about the people who are in positions who have tons of money and definitely access, and, the moguls, as you call them. And you're right, they're there. And yet we still seem to be in this sort of purgatory that's, Black Panther, great, 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 and then nothing else. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I keep looking at them. You were right, Jimmy, about how many different ways we make money. Those athletes make tons of friggin' money, and that's a story every day that they put on ESPN, and they put it out to the world about the greatness of America, which usually comes in a Black face, and that's a fact. And I look at these things called Black cast versus Black shows. Black shows are people, I have to say, was living single. A Black cast is Cosby Show. And somehow once they put you in that particular place, it's very hard for them to put the marketing dollars against a Black show versus a Black cast. And I keep saying our Black cast, our biggest Black casts are the NBA, the NFL, and all these other places. And they don't, no problem selling them around the world, T-shirts and everything else. So it's a straight lie to say that the Black story, that the woman, Dennis, you were talking about, who cannot connect to our stories. Bullshit, she can't. Every night she goes and connects to all these brothers' stories. They tell all sorts of stories, how they were mentored, what they face, their disability, what they're coming back from. They put them in form of heroes and gladiators, and somehow that connects. And yet the minute we say, can we tell that story actually? No, we don't. I don't know who's going to watch that. Do we have the marketing dollars? And it's a straight friggin' lie. And if we got together and with all of our entertainers who really, when you think about it, hold much more power than we're talking about in terms of I say film and television, then we can leverage those mighty dollars and those connections to get some done. Because the rest is bullshit. It's just how they framed it when they, as Tim said, when they saw you, they put you in a category and that was it. But I said, how do they see somehow Denzel's a different category than, say, a newcomer or somebody else? It's because they've already decided that Denzel is not Black.
Right.
And
there's going to be a competition here, and it's going to be based on who gets their talk dinged the most. Well, whenever someone says a word that is a little bit blue or a little colorful, there's going to be a ding at it, and you're going to have stars at the top of your banner. Okay, and we're going to pick who wins for the most colorful speech. And so far, it's probably Erika at this point. But,
my mother was so upset. She'd be like, have some couth. I'm sorry.
No. Be you. I really want to see who wins. On the last panel that I did, I won. So, hey.
It's all good. I did have a question for the panel. I did have a quick question.
Oh, absolutely.
If the Black Panther intellectual property were Black owned, would it be as well financed as it was by Disney?
Don't get Kevin started on this. Here we go. Here we go, Kevin. Answer this one, Kevin. This is all you.
It's hard to say. If it was Black owned, it would probably be a single proprietor. Since it's not Black owned, it's owned by a corporation as large as Disney. So of course, and given the fact that it's part of the larger Marvel universe, they're going to put the whole power of the studio behind it. And, I don't think they're going to do that for a single, proprietor, own character. I just can't see it. If you look at what James Barr did with like The Crow, that was proprietor owned. And,
right.
It didn't, it did well for what it was. There are a lot of examples of that, what was that one? Wanted, the same thing, those numbers. But I think the Black Panther just did well because it was quite a distance.
I think also in terms of, Hollywood's, I would say, and this may be arguably, but Hollywood's biggest issue has always been inclusion. And, inclusion in terms of proper representation and not representation in a and I'm talking about stereotypically how Black folks were represented back during like the golden age of Hollywood, how Asians were represented in the golden age, Latinos. It's like we've always had that representation that steered more towards the side of the stereotypes that represents us. There she is. And that to me has always been part of the thing that has always been a problem with Hollywood, because we have the stories and we have the ideas and the things that we want to put forth, but Hollywood still wants to see us in certain lights and certain stereotypical lights. And while we're forced to adapt to, like, say, Italian culture by seeing a lot of the films that are made with, Italian actors, Italian themes, things like that, when it comes to a Black theme or just a story as a whole, there's either an issue with that, or there's always somebody saying we can't relate, or because the Black population is 13% or whatever the percentage is now, there's not enough people to be able to really relate to that story if it comes out in the movie theaters and all this kind of stuff. And it's like bullshit, it's like, okay, but you want us to learn about your culture, which is cool, but why is our culture any different? And even going further, why does it always have to be taking place in the hood? This, or, just again, going back to the stereotypes. So, and we have the stories. We've always had the stories, but Hollywood either will buy the stories and then shelve them, or buy the stories and then whitewash them by turning maybe a main character white, or all the characters white, or half the characters white, or, always doing something to, cater to a larger base. But when it comes to our stories,
let's make Harriet Tubman played by Julia Roberts. You remember that?
Yeah, I heard about that recently.
I remember that crap.
They literally did that. They literally did that for the series, the comic book series that was done. I think it was in the early 2000s. The Black hero character who's in the wheelchair. What is the
wheelchair?
These adult.
Mantis.
What's that? Mantis, yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, Mantis, Carl.
I read for, I think either read for that project or was going to read for that project, and I got that script. I had to read it I had to look at it twice because I wasn't sure what I was looking at was real.
Yeah.
I had never read anything as unbelievably amazing as that project, the original project. All Black major cast. All cast, major characters were Black. Top to bottom. They had some incredible characters on there. Yeah, and I read this thing. You have got to be kidding me. They're actually going to produce this? It was remarkable. Every Black actor in the city was trying to get in on that show. They were all showing up to read for people I hadn't seen in years, or everybody was in the room trying to get on that show. Yeah. That script was incredible. All Black cast. I believe that they shot the pilot and then they changed everything, took out all the Black characters, and only left the Mantis character as Black and surrounded him with. They completely just changed the whole thing.
Yeah, I
auditioned for that Mantis.
See, I told you.
See, everybody did.
You know what?
Wasn't it all black cast? Wasn't it amazing?
It was a Fox show. It was Sam Raimi, absolutely. And Carl Lumley and I had just done a series in Jamaica called whatever. And he was like, going to audition. I was like, and I forget who, but the point is, yes, I was there because I was trying to be in that. And you know what? It was first position for Mantis, second position for Living Single. I didn't get Mantis, so I had to take Living Single. Yeah. So Living Single was like not my choice, really.
Yeah, but what's that story? That script was amazing.
Thank God you did
That
from
original pilot was amazing.
It was great. Yeah. I remember.
Sam Hamm and Sam Raimi contacted me when they conceived Mantis. And they had no idea what he looked like. They had no idea what the armor was going to be or whatever. So I talked to Sam. I didn't talk to Sam Raimi that much. I talked to Sam Hamm about what they wanted to do, what their vision of this thing was. It was all black, you're right? It was unbelievable what they were trying to do and what they were going to do. Dwayne McDuffie and I discussed the concept when we came up with what the armor would look like, right? Because in the original pilot, he had a coat on, he had the armor on, but it wasn't like an armored suit. It was a whole different kind of vibe. He had the two black assistants.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
There's a lot of stuff going on. And he was a very, very smart dude. And so they did the pilot, we did the pilot, and it did really well. The ratings were through the roof.
Yeah.
The minute they went to series is when Fox decided to change everything. It had nothing to do with the pilot or ratings. It had everything to do with their personal feelings about what would sell and what wouldn't. And their uncomfortableness, if that's not even a real word, but they were uncomfortable with this all black cast.
That's right.
So I remember Sam telling me how they were putting pressure on him. Sam's a white guy. So they were trying their best to do everything correct, right? He told me about the pressure that the network was putting on him and Sam Raimi to start changing everything. They were not comfortable with the two black assistants. They had to go.
Yeah.
They put our man in a wheelchair and had a white dude who invented the suit and did everything for him. That made them feel more comfortable with everything. It was like a disaster. I remember speaking to Carl about it, and disheartened is not the word. A brave face is the word, because he's an incredible actor, an incredible professional. Yeah. But it was hard on him. Yeah. It was hard on everybody. I think that they were happy when that thing was over after one season because it was excruciating. It wasn't the way that anybody wanted to do it or how they wanted to set up that series. It was just like a disaster.
That's it.
I don't know why it's so hard for them to accept black brilliance on television. That's
science fiction. It's still science fiction. It's not even. It's science fiction.
Exactly, it's fiction. Even a fictional display of black brilliance is offensive to them.
Well, we can't exist. We can't exist in the future.
No, we can't.
I know. You know what? My favorite science fiction novels.
Black guy helping us, we could exist.
Yeah, some of my favorite science fiction novels. They first start off like Edgar Rice Burroughs' Beyond the Farthest Star. And like the second paragraph, he says, well, after the race war ended and the black people were destroyed, you would get this crap over and over again in science fiction.
Like, what? Wait a minute.
And it's like killing off the black actor in the second act.
But you know what, though? Let me say, one of the things that I love about when I watched, one of the things that I loved about Star Trek was the fact that you would see episodes where, like about to nerd out on Star Trek here for a second, but there's an episode of Enterprise where it's revealed that the inventor of the transporter was a black guy. I remember the original series, The Ultimate Computer, I think it was a black guy that basically invented
Professor Daystrom, wasn't it? Professor Daystrom?
Daystrom.
Yeah. Yes, Daystrom. Yeah. And when you hear Daystrom, even in like Next Generation and DS9,
there's the Daystrom Institute.
Daystrom, that's the brother. So even in Picard, and I think they even mentioned it in Discovery, the Daystrom Institute. you had a lot of black people in big positions within. I mean, you had black admirals calling up Jean-Luc Picard saying, yo, you got to go to this planet and go check things out. This is a black admiral of Starfleet running things. You know what I mean?
Remember the black doctor who was the expert in Vulcan physiology and had to save Spock's life during Pomfar?
Dr. Mbega, yeah. When McCoy wasn't around, Mbega was he was the man. Even in Discovery,
you played the doctor. And of course, you were a black alien, but you played the doctor in Orville that saved the little baby, right? Or had to turn the little baby from a male to female or female to male.
Yeah, but you would know I was black. We're in the prosthetic. Yes,
the makeup was black. The makeup was black.
The makeup was black. You didn't see the lips. So yeah, but
yeah, we've made some appearances on a number of science fiction projects, you know, as actors in front of the camera, which is it's all a plus in that category. But I mean, but like I said, when it comes down to actually getting, you know, sold, whether they're black themed or not, it's still a challenge, you know. But because, you know, those who have all the gold rules, that's how it works, you know, and that is a long slug. It's just a very long slug. And then now the landscape for entertainment is changing dramatically. So it's pretty wide, and the content spreads across a very, you know, long and wide field. Little bits and pieces here and there is what it's coming down to.
Do you all think streaming has helped, you know, taking out the whole network middle person, streaming as far as a format?
It has and it hasn't, because what happens is the viewership becomes more fragmented. Right. Now, even Quibi, that's got big names and all the stuff, they're only 30% of their subscriber target right now. So they may not have much longer. It's very hard to get so many, when you have that many options, just too many places for people to go. So not everybody's going to pay for every subscription that's out there. And so the slivers are becoming smaller and smaller. Whereas before, the cable and basically the network, you know, they had pretty good sized chunks of the demographic. And these are subscriber based, which means they need people to pay every month, because there's it's not advertising based. So that demographic has it's a double-edged sword. More content, yes, but who's watching? And what are the budgets like anymore for those projects compared to network? And will they be able to survive that for more than 10 minutes because there's not enough viewership? Maybe that's going to be the key toward finding out. We're going to have to do a much better job than the average developer of content in Hollywood to decide what's going to be our playground. What sandbox are we going to play in? Even for themselves, they don't know what that sandbox is going to be, regardless of whether it's a black, minority-owned project or not. It's not going to matter. What really matters is how this field of network and streaming shakes out. Like, who are the winners and losers? What's going to be left? And I think it's just going to be a few big ones, and that's probably going to be it for the majority of paying, as it were, paid content. People where you can work on a project and make a living.
Well, guys, this has been really amazing. I mean, I could do 2 or 3 more hours of this, but we're going to have to cut it a little short now. So, in the meantime, though, before we say goodbye, guys, tell us about whatever project you've got coming that you're really excited about. Tim, how about you? Start with you.
I just in the end of 2019, I had as a feature project that I directed called Junkie, which was shot up in Northern California, and it was just released at the end of 2019. It's streaming now. I believe it's on Amazon and a few other platforms, and I directed it and co-wrote it. It's not a black theme project. I just helped with the producers and putting it together and shooting it for them. Another project that I'm acting in is called Fifth Passenger. It was Rico, which was released at the end of 2019 as well, and is doing quite well. It's on several platforms as well. That's a science fiction project in which I play one of the characters in there. And remarkably enough, the sort of the backdrop of that story has to do with the opposite of what's happening more or less in our society today.
Oh, that will segue to Rico, since you guys share that credit. Rico, what's up with you?
Well, like Tim said, Fifth Passenger, which is currently out, and please, everybody, check that out. when you get the chance. Also, I have a project that I'm working on called On Smoother Dirt, and it stars Academy Award winner Louis Gossett Jr., and it's about the life of Ernie Banks from the Kansas City Monarchs, and I'm actually playing Buck O'Neill, who was the manager of the Kansas City Monarchs. So
beautiful. So, Erika, how about you?
Well, the John Lewis documentary we produced last year with CNN, Participant Media, and Magnolia is coming out on July 3rd in theaters, actually, and of course, mostly in streaming, probably, because who's going to be going to a theater? And then it will be on CNN as of the 27th and on HBO Max. That's where it will live. Also doing a movie about the Boys Choir of Harlem that I wrote.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's going to be wonderful. But it's been a slog because of the same reasons that everyone brought up here about how to find financing for things. But I think we're doing well on that. And then we're also doing podcasts. So I do Color Farm Media. That's my media company. And we got a deal with Spotify to do a 26-episode sci-fi series. And I'm with...
Is it Love and Rockets?
Huh?
Is it Love and Rockets?
I wish. Come on, are you... No, it's not Love and Rockets. It's an original thing that I came up with. It's called Dalit. And yeah. Look after that.
All right. Dennis, how about you?
That's really cool. I've been working on a whole bunch of stuff that I can't talk about yet. But what I can talk about is I just wrapped up the fourth issue of the Black Label series, The Question, for DC. And it was written by Jeff Lemire. Issue 3 will be out next week, I think, after the COVID-19 thing shut down all the printing presses, plants, and all that stuff. So my book got delayed by months and months. Well, finally, issue number 3 of this 4-issue Black Label Question series is coming out next week. And then after that, it'll be issue 4 in July. So hopefully people will, pick those back up and get back into reading that stuff. It was a character that Denny O'Neil and I, the late Denny O'Neil and I, did back in the 80s. And Jeff Lemire and I and Bill Sienkiewicz brought it back for the for now. So, hopefully people will dig that when it comes out.
Yeah,
that's the stuff I can talk about.
Yeah, and then you can talk about more of the stuff. I can't wait to hear about this stuff. Now, everybody's favorite werewolf, Kevin?
One of their things, but I can't mention those projects, not right yet. But I do have 2 books that I've been working on. One of them is Bastard. And I've been working on this project for a while. It's about one of the most famous the first Black Marshal in the old
Bass-Reeves.
Yeah. So we've been getting a lot of acclaim with this one. And then I just finished up a series called The Psycho List out of Black Box Comics. By the way, this is Allegiance Comics right here. And so I've been working on these 2 projects and getting a lot of good responses. And so, those are
outstanding.
That's awesome.
And last but not least, our professor, our academician from San Diego State University. What's going on in the world of academia?
Well, actually, my comic Straight Out of Freemanville debuted last Comic-Con, last Afrofuturism panel. It won the 2019 Comic-Con International Comic Creator All-Star. They had a special panel for that last year at Comic-Con, and BET gave it some accolades on Twitter. So thank you to BET. You guys turned my name into a hashtag, and my students loved it. So thumbs up to BET. But yeah, straightoutofFreemanville.com. It's a continuing series. The digital ash cans are available now. Just like with everything with regard to COVID and everything, things slowed down. But I'm going to be continuing that series. That's going to be my opus. I keep telling people that. I love sci-fi westerns. That is my favorite genre. Kevin, I'm going to pick up that Bass-Reeves copy because I definitely want to check that out. But yeah.
Give me, I'll send you a copy.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
But is he the only one going to get one?
Right.
Yeah, send the whole panel. We want copies.
Hey, did you bring enough for everyone, Kevin? All right.
Thank you. But no, I appreciate it.
Jimmy, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Strong brother, and your work really matters. But the thing, you uplift our community, and I mean the beloved community in a very wonderful way. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Well, you know, some people say I'm a red bone, but I'm black on black, black, whose mind is black. Okay, so
I think I was on
all right, Jimmy.
Erika,
yeah, thank you guys so much. You're all my heroes, and 4 of you know that you are coming up in my next project. We're not going to talk about it now, but you'd be surprised how close I am to getting this done. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody out there for Black to the Future 3D Real AF. We'll be back next year with Black to the Future 4.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you.
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
See y'all at Comic-Con 2021.
You got it. So long, everybody. Hey, folks, it's time for us to award our coveted Black to the Future Golden Poopy Award. This is the award that we bestow upon the participant who contributed the most explicative deleteds during our panel. This year, the Golden Poopy goes to Erika Alexander. Yay! Yay! That's right, folks. Her halo slipped just a little, but trust me, she's still the same precious angel that we've all come to know and love. Well, thanks for viewing, everybody. We look forward to seeing you all in San Diego for Comic-Con 2021. Until then, I leave you with the House of Diggs motto, this far by faith.